At our family dinner, I proudly announced that I had finally purchased a charming lake house. My sister immediately exclaimed, "Oh, this will be perfect for my kids' vacations." And before I could even respond, my parents nodded approvingly and added, "That's wonderful, everyone can enjoy it now. Just give us the keys so we can visit whenever we like." I thought they were joking, but I quickly learned they were. Every time my family planned a weekend getaway, my sister was already there, proclaiming, "Can't you see I'm using it? Go away and come back another time." My dad even sided with her, saying, "Some people should respect whoever is currently staying at the property." A few months later, when my sister bought herself a camper, I asked casually, "Hey, could we borrow it for a weekend road trip?" Without hesitation, she snapped, "No, it's mine. I don't lend it out. And I don't want your messy kids anywhere near it." That was the final straw. I confronted them and said, "Everyone been using my lake house without asking, without even cleaning up after themselves, and when it's my turn, this is how I'm treated." My mother just shrugged and said, "Yes." I simply replied, "Fine." They had no idea what I was planning next. Hi Reddit, using a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I'm *Lena 30F, and this is the story of how my dream lake house turned into my family's personal vacation hub, and how I finally put an end to it. Let me paint the scene. After 10 exhausting years of working 60-hour weeks, saving every penny, skipping vacations, and surviving mostly on instant noodles, I finally bought something I'd dreamed about since I was little, a beautiful, cozy lake house. It wasn't some massive mansion, but it had everything I wanted. A private dock, tall trees swaying gently in the breeze, and the soothing sound of waves lapping right outside the porch. The very first time I told my family about it was during a big dinner. I barely finished saying I bought a lake house before my older sister, Sophie, 34F, clapped her hands together in excitement, exclaiming, "That's perfect for my kids' holidays." My parents immediately chimed in, "Oh, wonderful. Now everyone can enjoy it. Just hand over the keys so we can come whenever we want." I laughed awkwardly, thinking they were teasing, but within days the family group chat was buzzing. "Who's going this weekend?" "Sophie's taking it for spring break." "Mom and Dad want the master bedroom." Not a single person asked if I had plans. Every time I tried to schedule a quiet weekend at my own place, Sophie was already there with her kids, toys scattered everywhere, wet towels on the floor, and snack wrappers stuffed under the couch cushions. Once, when I arrived with my daughter, Sophie actually blocked the driveway and said, "Can't you see I'm here? Leave, come back another time." When I complained, Dad just shrugged and said, "You should respect whoever's using it." It became a pattern. Mother's Day, Memorial Day, long weekends. It was always Sophie and her family. My lake house looked more like a daycare center than a retreat. I even found a dirty diaper jammed into my bookshelf once. And if I ever dared to complain, I got scolded for not being grateful that my family was making memories there. Months passed, and then Sophie showed up to dinner beaming with excitement. She had just bought a new camper van, fully paid for in cash. She bragged about every detail, so I jokingly said, "Hey, maybe we can borrow it for a weekend road trip." Her smile vanished. "No," she said flatly. "It's mine, I don't share, and I don't want your messy kids inside." I looked at my parents, expecting them to call out the hypocrisy, but Mom just waved her hand dismissively and said, "Let her have it. She deserves something for herself." That's when I lost my composure. "So everyone can use my lake house freely, but when I ask for something, this is what I get," I said. Mom rolled her eyes and said, "Yes." I took a deep breath and replied, "Fine." They assumed I'd drop it, but they were wrong. For months, I'd been watching my dream home turn into a public park I barely had access to. Sophie and my parents came and went as they pleased, even inviting friends. I got messages like, "We left food in the fridge, don't throw it out." Or, "Can you Venmo me for the floaties I bought for the kids?" My own belongings were shoved aside. My bed sheets stuffed into garbage bags because Sophie didn't like the color, my decorations replaced with her junk. The final straw came over the July 4th weekend. I'd reserved the house months in advance, announced it in the group chat, even sent a Google Calendar invite. My daughter was thrilled. We packed snacks, fishing gear, and board games. But when we arrived, Sophie's SUV was already in the driveway. The place was a mess, her kids' stuff everywhere. When I demanded an explanation, she shrugged. "Oh, we're already settled in. You can stay somewhere else tonight." I called my parents, expecting support. Instead, they said, Sophie's kids are younger. They need the space more than you. Book a hotel, Lena. That humiliation turned into fury. I dug out every document I had, the deed, the bills, the maintenance records, all in my name. Then I checked the security footage and saw the truth. They'd been visiting almost every week, treating my home like a free resort. Sophie's husband even hosted his friends for a men's retreat. I made a list of everything that had been broken or stolen: missing speakers, cracked oars, ruined furniture, food rotting in the fridge. 2 patio chairs were literally sitting on Sophie's porch. I saw them in her Instagram photo. That night, I stayed awake fuming and planning. The following week, while my family assumed I was traveling for work, I drove to the Lakehouse with a locksmith. Within 2 hours, every lock, front, back, even the shed, was replaced. I installed digital keypads that only I controlled, hired a cleaning crew, and instructed them to box up anything that wasn't mine. Shoes, towels, toys, blenders, fishing rods, everything. I even mounted a Ring camera above the main door, linked directly to my phone. By the time I left, the house was spotless for the first time in a year. Then I sent a short message in the family chat. The Lakehouse is closed until further notice. Pick up your belongings this weekend or they'll be donated. The reactions were immediate. Sophie exploded. What the hell, we had plans. Dad barked. You can't change locks on family property. Mom scolded. This is so selfish, Lena, think of the children. I ignored them. Instead, I sent private messages to each, giving them a 1-hour pickup window under supervision. Anyone who didn't show would have their stuff donated. That weekend, I sat on the porch sipping coffee as they arrived one by one. Sophie came first, yelling, "You're crazy." My kids are devastated. I calmly handed her bags and said, "This house is mine. The title, the bills, everything's in my name. You've disrespected me long enough. It stops now." When she tried to barge in, I pointed to the Ring camera and said, "Try anything and I'll call the police." Dad tried to start a family discussion, lecturing me about tradition and togetherness. Mom accused me of tearing the family apart. I showed them the deed, receipts, insurance papers, all under my name. "If you want to make family memories, get your own place," I said. They left, furious, like I had exiled them from paradise. That night, my daughter and I stayed at the Lakehouse, alone for the first time in ages. We watched the sunset in peace, listening to the soft lapping of the water, but the drama wasn't over. The next morning, the family group chat exploded again. Sophie wrote, "You traumatized my kids. Their summer is ruined." Mom threatened, "We won't come for Thanksgiving." Dad guilt-tripped, "After everything we did for you, this is how you repay us." Soon, extended family chimed in. Family shares. "Why are you being so selfish?" Sophie even held a family meeting without me, spinning a story about how I'd banned everyone and robbed her children of their childhood memories. Then came the social media posts. Sophie's long Facebook rant about greedy relatives choosing money over love. Some townspeople sided with her, but others messaged me privately saying, "Good for you. Don't let them walk all over you." The final showdown came when Sophie and my parents showed up at the Lakehouse despite my warnings. My Ring camera caught them trying to open the door with old keys, rattling the handles, even peeking through windows. When that didn't work, they pounded on the door, shouting my name. I watched remotely, coffee in hand, and didn't answer. Eventually, the property manager called me. Police had been notified after an attempted unauthorized entry. No damage was done, just yelling. A few days later, Sophie texted an insincere apology. "Maybe I overstepped, but can we have one last weekend for the kids?" I replied. "The Lakehouse was purchased for my daughter and me. It's not a community center. If you want lake time, rent a cabin nearby." That triggered another meltdown. Mom called me the family destroyer. Dad scolded me for being ungrateful, and Sophie cried that I never cared about her children. But I held my ground. Months passed. My daughter and I spent weekends at the lake, fishing, swimming, movie nights under blankets, laughter echoing across the water. The house finally felt like ours, peaceful, private, and filled with joy instead of chaos. The gossip around town eventually died down. When people asked my parents about the Lakehouse, they muttered that I was using it a lot lately. Sophie eventually sold her camper, claiming it wasn't worth the trouble. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mom's last comment on the subject was, "I hope you're happy." And for the first time, I could truthfully say, I am. Almost a year later, the Lakehouse is still mine alone. The locks remain changed, the peace intact. Only those who respect me and my boundaries are welcome. My daughter and I have built new traditions, barbecues with friends, movie nights on the porch, sunrise swims. Every time she runs down the dock laughing and shouts, "It's really ours, Mom." I smile, knowing she's right. My family might not have changed, but I have. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from keeping everyone happy. It comes from finally choosing yourself and closing the door on those who never respected it.